Hello, this is Gareth with Mountaincoffee Outdoors. Kind of ran into some trouble tonight. My original plan was to come out on a Friday evening and do a little quick overnight camp, and also to shoot a kind of a second Show Us Your Steak challenge, because Dave Whipple, Bush Radical, tagged me in his Show Us Your Steak challenge recently. He didn't realize that I'd already done it. And I'm actually glad he did tag me, because now I've actually been tagged. Last time I did it, I hadn't been tagged, but I was just so inspired to do one of those videos that I just went ahead and did it. Anyway, it just kind of hit me yesterday that maybe I could just come out and kind of do another little Show Us Your Steak Part 2. So that was my plan. I got a steak. Actually, I went to the local butcher shop and got a ribeye. Put together some bannock mix. So I just add water to it, and I was going to bake some bannock and cook a steak. Just kind of bushcraft style, woodcraft style, over the fire. And I got out here and got my camp set up, and I realized that I forgot my little mount arm. I'm not exactly, can't remember exactly what you call it, but it's what I attach to my tripod, and I screw my camera onto it, and I screw my microphone onto it. Anyway, throwing my stuff together today, it slipped my mind to pack it, and I have my tripod with me, but the little mounting screw thing that mounts with the tripod is on that mount arm, so I can't use the tripod at all. I just really think that trying to prop the camera up and do that sort of video is just going to be too much of a pain. So I think I might just have to go with some sort of a plan B and maybe go out on New Year's Day and shoot that video. I guess I'll have to cook another steak. Oh darn. But anyway, I'm just going to settle in for the night and just enjoy the night out. Things could be worse, obviously. Yeah. Actually the first Show Us Your Steak challenge, when I planned on going out and filming that, I was originally going to try to do it on a Friday evening, and I went out and the weather was just horrible. I got out to the place I wanted to camp out. It was dark already, which I knew it probably would be, but it was dark already. I thought I'd get there with at least a little bit of sunlight, but I guess the time frame just didn't work out as I thought it would. And it was rainy, and the wind was blowing it all over, and it was just pretty miserable conditions. So I decided not to try to shoot that video then. So the second time I tried to go out and do one of these Show Us Your Steak challenges on a Friday evening, it didn't work out again. So I guess I should just try to stop doing that. Not that I'm going to do another Show Us Your Steak challenge after this, part 2 one, but anyway, just waiting for the fire to burn down a little bit, get me some coals that I can cook on. Have the old Morse pot over the fire to heat up some water for some tea. The winter solstice was a week ago, and this is kind of the reality of winter evenings. It goes, the sun goes down pretty early. It is about 8 o'clock now, so it is a little bit later. But the sun's been down for quite a while. I got out here, it was dark. It's just, you got to bring some lights with you, especially if you want to shoot video. But I'll enjoy my little winter camp out here. Earlier this week was pretty warm, but it finally went below freezing yesterday, and it was freezing all today. It actually rained a couple days ago, so I was hoping that all the wet, muddy ground would freeze, and for the most part, at least the surface of the muddy stuff is frozen, although as I was hiking in here, I went through some kind of flooded areas. I'm just glad that my mucklucks, the rubber bottoms of my mucklucks that I'm wearing, kept my feet dry, because mucklucks and water don't really get along very well. It's, Kansas isn't exactly muckluck wearing territory in general. Although sometimes it gets cold enough too. But I figured if it was going to stay below freezing the whole time I'm out here, I could probably get away with trying to wear them. Pot of water on for a brew. Overall, I do drink quite a bit more coffee than I do tea, but I've noticed that sometimes I think that tea just seems to taste better when you're out in the woods. I'm not necessarily saying it tastes better than coffee, it just tastes better. Tea itself tastes better out here than it does when you drink it at home. I just heard some coyotes off howling somewhere out to the north of me here. And I wish I had a camera that was capable of showing the beauty of what I see when I look out from my camp. I'm here on a fairly cold winter's night. Fairly cool, maybe I should say. It's not cold enough to freeze the snot in my nostrils when or the moisture in my nostrils when I inhale. So I'm not going to call it cold. But I'm here on a cool winter's night, sitting in front of a campfire, and when I look out, the campfire illuminates the little trees that are near me, and just a little bit further out, I can see the dark silhouettes of the trees. They're a little further distant, and then above those trees, I see a star-filled sky. I don't think that there is any clouds in the sky. All I see is stars, and the moon's not out tonight either. It's just really beautiful. Just that star-filled dome overhead. Me just back in this little area of the wildlands of Kansas, all by myself, in front of a nice, cozy, cheery fire. In the winter, late December. December 28th tonight. Kind of really in the depths of winter. Just a beautiful, beautiful sight. Beautiful night to be out. It was pretty windy today. But the wind, fortunately, it calmed down. In all honesty, if it had stayed as windy as it was, I may have thought twice about coming out here. But when it comes to going out, and I guess what I like to call challenging conditions, whether it's going to be rainy, stormy, cold, the type of stuff that a lot of people just don't really see any point in going out, and in fact they're afraid to do so, and they think that you're crazy if you do. I always find what I call challenging conditions to be more interesting. I think it's more interesting to go camping when it's, maybe not what people would say is ideal. And about a year ago, I ran across a quote in a book. The book is Paradise Below Zero, and it was written by Calvin Rutstrum, and he was a guy that he spent a lot of time up in the North Woods in Minnesota and also Canada, And he wrote several books about like canoeing up in the canoe country and just wilderness living, wilderness life up there. And in one of the books he wrote is called Paradise Below Zero, and it's about winter camping. And apparently, once upon a time, it was one of the few books that was out there about winter camping. But I ran across a quote, and it's in the beginning of the book. He writes, "In a few hours, therefore, by calculated choice, I will meet the outdoors on its own variable terms, enjoying an unexplainable lust for the challenge of adverse weather, a sort of love for crisis all through life. I will venture outdoors on foot or snowshoe with proper clothing, no matter how rugged the weather, a blizzard, in all truth, being preferred." And that quote really just kind of spoke to me about how I feel about the winter. You know, you can prepare yourself, and he was talking about leaving his cabin, going out into the winter weather for a little hike, and how he was going to enjoy it. And, you know, to me that quote really sums up kind of how I feel about going outdoors in the winter, and also just kind of in general, you know, going out when you can prepare yourself with, you know, your clothing and your gear to meet the conditions that nature has, that's putting forward, and to be able to just travel in them or live in them for a while, you know, in a comfortable manner. It's just, you know, it's something that I enjoy. And like you said, you know, you'd almost rather be out walking in a blizzard just because it would, you know, be more interesting to him. It would be more of that kind of crisis that he, you know, is kind of living through quite comfortably. There's another book where he wrote a little thing about that whole idea of crisis and how he always enjoyed it, you know, just kind of like storms blowing in, things like that. And I've always felt the same way. When I was a kid, I actually kind of liked severe thunderstorms blowing in because, you know, it just was interesting. I wouldn't say I enjoy them anymore, because I know that they can tear stuff up, and when you're an adult, you kind of understand the consequences of of things being messed up and having to be fixed and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I've always felt that myself, that, you know, just bad weather, cold weather, everything like that, you know, it just made things more interesting. And that's, you know, why I enjoy coming out camping in the winter. It's just a little bit more interesting. You have to, you know, kind of do things in a little bit more, you know, you have to prepare yourself, obviously. You have to bring gear that will help you stay warm and all that sort of stuff. And you have to do things in a manner that will, you know, not get you into trouble. If you come out in the summer, you know, when it's nice and warm, you can basically do about whatever silly nonsense you want to and be as foolish as you want to, and you're probably not going to get yourself in a whole lot of trouble. But in the winter, especially if it's really cold outside, if you go out and you know, mess around and do some really imprudent things, you're going to wind up in a lot of trouble, and you might not even survive it, depending on how bad it is. So, you know, the winter camping has always appealed to me, just because it's, you know, it's something that you have to kind of be smart about, and it's just more interesting to me. Well, I've kind of decided I don't think I'm going to cook that steak tonight. I think I'm just going to let it freeze out here, because it's going to get plenty cold. I think I'll save that for later. I still think I want to try to make that bannock once this fire burns down, although I think that's going to be quite a while until the fire is burned down enough to try to cook that. I need some coals to get that stuff going. I have enough beef sticks and stuff that I brought with me, and some other little bits and pieces. I think I'll have plenty to eat tonight. Have the bannock starting to cook. Have it just sitting on a little layer of hot coals. So when you get that bottom to start cooking, then we'll prop it up in front of the fire and cook it the rest of the way. Now I have the bannock propped up in front of the fire. Just have a couple sticks holding up the skillet. Let the bottom cook a bit on the coals, and then I propped it up like that to cook the rest of it. It's puffing up pretty nicely, so far so good and looking pretty good. The bannock is done. Hopefully it shows up okay with my headlamp shining on it. But yeah, the bannock turned out really well. I ate a little bit already that kind of broke off. And yeah, it's just a pretty good, really simple quick bread, I guess you'd call it. It's not exactly all that particularly flavorful, just totally plain, but you know, you could put almost anything on this stuff. Butter, jam, peanut butter. I mean, shoot, even some bacon grease would go really well on it. But it cooked up very nice. Nice and golden brown on top. If nothing else tonight, the bannock turned out to be a success. Well, a little change of plans tonight, but we made the best of it. Yeah, it's a nice winter night to be out. Just enjoying a quick little camp out. Some pretty decent food, although I didn't bother. Just decided not to cook the steak now. I'll save that for later. But I was gonna eat some more of this bannock and enjoy sitting by the fire a little while longer, and then I'll go to sleep. I don't think I'm gonna do anything tomorrow morning. I need to just kind of pack up and get back home fairly early. So I'll probably just bring the video to a close here. Thanks for spending some time with me out in front of the campfire. And this is Gareth with Mountain Coffee Outdoors. I'll see you next time. Hopefully this video looks okay. I'm just kind of under a whole bunch of lights. It's dark out here.